You. We'll call it a miraculous rescue. Two heroes coming together yesterday to save a woman who was trapped in a fiery crash on the freeway. That woman was trapped in her burning truck after being hit by a cement mixer. This video caught on camera by a police officer's helmet. Chandler police officer Brian Larison was on his way to work when that crash happened in front of him on the US 60 at Val Vista. The woman in desperate need of help, and that help came not only from Officer Larison, but also an off-duty firefighter and paramedic, Asa Paglia, with the Peoria Fire Department. They both happened to be at the right place at the right time to save her life. Last night on 12 News at 10, we brought both of those heroes back together again to share their incredible story with our Mark Curtis. Here's part of their interview.
What was that like for both of you today?
My first thought was get her out. I didn't want anything to happen to her. Certainly didn't want her to perish in that fire. And it took me a little bit to finally break that window, but when I finally did, I was pretty spent at that point because of the adrenaline and everything I was hitting.
Of course.
Luckily, when I turned around and I saw Asa, and it was just like, oh, he's here and he's got his gear, and I was so happy to see him.
Yeah, and you're in your turnout. You actually are able to grab her and drag her away from this burning car. What's going through your mind?
You know, as I pulled up, I saw that there was a fire, but as I was passing by, I noticed that, you know, him and the other bystanders, like, they were desperately trying to get someone out of there. So I noticed that someone might be trapped, and I had my gear with me. So I put it on, and right at that moment, he had broken the window, and I saw her legs and arms flailing, and decided that we would get her out. And in that moment, the only thing on your mind is that you want to effect a rescue and get this person out of that fire. You know, we didn't want to see something more unfortunate occur.
Thank God you both came along when you did, and I understand that really you might not have been there at all. I know you don't normally take that way. You were running late, and and this woman's alive tonight because both of you guys had situations where you would roll past this scene.
Yes, sir. You know, when I left my house, we always sign on for duty from our garage, and I normally take the 202. And for some reason, I was like, well, I think I'll take the 60 and go do traffic out in Northwest Chandler this morning. And I just happened to see this take place, and I'm like, why is everybody slowing down? So I roll up, and here we are. And
I'm guessing your training just kicked into gear.
Yeah, you know, once, you know, any first responder, firemen, police, EMS, when there's someone in need, there's no other thought on your mind than helping them. And so that's why we do what we do. That's nothing unique to us. It's everyday firefighters, first responders, cops, EMS. And, you know, the only thing on my mind was we're going to get her out. And luckily we were able to.
I hope you can step back from the humble, I did what I'm trained to do person, and just know, like, today, I made a difference in someone's life and the ripple effect of all the people that they know and love. You absolutely, positively saved this woman's life, and it's miraculous, and we're just so happy to have you both here.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for all that you do.
Thank you.
And Mark joins us now for the backstory. Mark, I can't tell you how many times I've watched that video at least a dozen times by now, right? It's all over the news. It's made national news. And every single time, it just catches my breath. It is astonishing. It is miraculous. And it's almost like the stars aligned for that woman to be saved.
Yeah, they did, because one of the most astounding parts to me of this story is that neither of them should have been there.
Yes.
One was going a different way that he normally would go to work. The other was running late.
Yeah.
And had the stars not aligned, right, this poor woman would be gone. And this would have been a completely different story.
Right, and both of them and their skill set, right, so needed. I mean, with the police officer breaking that window,
yeah,
and then when he turns around and he sees that firefighter.
There's Asa.
There's Asa, and it was like, that's who I needed to help pull her out of that fire.
And how about the fact that it just turns out that Asa happens to be what they call a rover, yes, which means he is not assigned to one particular fire station. Right. He roves to fill in. And because of that, he always has all of his gear with him, from his bedding to his turnout gear to everything he needs.
Yeah.
So had he not been a rover, even if he had come along, he might not have had his turnout. So it's one of those stories that you think, wow, how did this happen?
Right.
And even they were saying last night, Tram, like, I said, have you had time for this to hit you, to wash over you what you did today? Because no matter how well trained you are and how many times you as a firefighter might run into a burning building, or how many times as a police officer you might save someone who's in distress, there's still that moment where you have to put yourself in danger.
Right.
I mean, Officer Brian ran towards those flames.
Yeah.
He's trying to break that window. He sees there's a woman alive.
He knew he had to get her out.
And it was a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
And I'm not exaggerating. I mean, this car could have blown up.
Yes.
She could have caught fire. She could have passed out from the fumes.
So many things.
Everything.
Yeah.
Right? And they were able to not think, but act.
Just act
They
and
acted,
do it.
right.
And you know what amazes me is, okay, you know, these first responders, they get called into situations many times that are like this. But of this magnitude, you know, again, all across national media, they are showing this miraculous rescue. And it was just, when you ask them, have you had a moment to just kind of let this settle?
Yeah.
I mean,
That oh, you know what moment.
yes, that was such an important question. You know, I just thought to myself, they just act like you were saying, and they don't think about it. It's not even a second thought. It is like, you go in there, you save that person, and then that's it.
Tram, both are married. Both have big families.
Both are Marines.
Both are Marines who were deployed on the same deployment, didn't know each other.
Wow.
So both have honorably served our country. Leave their families behind to go to what they think will be a normal work day.
Yeah.
And this happens.
And this happens.
And I just want to point out, Officer Larimer, his son is a cop down in Tucson.
You're kidding.
No, so he has followed in his father's footsteps. Fireman Paglia has 4 children. And I said to them at the end, I know you're going to say this is just, it's what we do.
Yeah.
But I hope you feel somewhere, even if you don't want to admit it now, proud of what you did today. Because for us, and all the bad stuff we have to read about every day, when we read a story like this,
Yeah. And it gives us chills.
humans doing their very best.
Right.
You know, humanity is back, at least for that moment.
Absolutely.
It just, it washed over me, and it was this cleansing feeling yesterday of like, oh, finally
There
a good
is
story.
good.
Yes.
Yes, there is good, and we are rooting for them, and we're so proud of their efforts.
Absolutely.
We're so proud of what they did, and they deserve all this recognition because so many times they don't get that recognition.
150%.
And I'll tell you too, from a media perspective, it's not often that you will hear from these heroes. They're always so humble.
Of course.
They don't want to do interviews. It's just part of their job. And then for them to just, have that attention they so deserve, for us, it's such a great feeling.
And on what had to be one of the most tiring, exhausting,
Absolutely.
physically and emotionally, one of the most exhausting days of their lives, for them to come down here at 10 o'clock at night, it just meant so much to all of us.
Oh, such a great interview. Mark, thank you. And to those heroes.
Hats off to those heroes.
No kidding. And please watch the entire interview. It is so compelling. It's on 12 Plus and on 12news.com. Thanks for joining us, Mark.
Oh,
I'll see you at 5.
Yeah, good to see you.
Okay, Rachel?
And you know what, Mark hit the nail on the head. As a daughter of a first responder, their families' lives are changed as well. Well done. All right, up next.